It's me, Joseph, and my brother Javis, and we're going to talk about the things in the DCEU and probably a bunch of other things. As always, let's get it started. Let's get it locked, loaded with information. So let's go, Javis. What are we talking about?
All right. So right now, there is a huge thing going on right now. Someone dropped the fact that Venom 3 is going to be coming out very soon with Tom Hardy, and people lost their minds. Like everyone was like super excited about it. You can read all the Twitter feed of everyone just going, "Yes, I cannot wait for this movie." But people have been saying that uh, there was less excitement for the Ant-Man movie, and people are starting to realize or just question whether the DC, I mean, sorry, whether the Disney Marvel movies have lost their touch and whether Sony Marvel movies are what is next. Like, because we all know we're super excited about the new Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse 2. Everyone's excited about that. Everyone's excited about Venom coming out, and there's a couple of other movies, and everyone's waiting for them to finally drop the Miles Morales live action movie, which we all know is going to come sooner or later. But people are more excited about this stuff than they are about the Disney Marvel movies right now. Do you think that this is going to be a new trend, or do you think this is just this specific movie, Ant-Man itself, couldn't generate the buzz that Disney was looking for?
There's something when you speak about that. The thing that I'm noticing as well is there's not enough. I don't know if I'm saying that right. How do I want to word that? There is too much information that is needed for you to understand what's happening in the world of Marvel. You gotta watch the shows, you gotta watch the movies, you gotta make sure you're piecing everything together to the point where you ask yourself, let's say you're a huge Paul Rudd fan. You love all of Paul Rudd's movies, you want to go out and see him, you're that kind of person. So now you decide, I'm going to go out and see this Paul Rudd movie because he's starring in it. And then you're like, what the heck is going on? I'm trying to imagine being that person because you
Mm,
know they exist. You know they're out there. They're just like, hey, I just want to watch a movie of a fan of a person that I'm a fan of. And I've never thought about it from that perspective because there are people that just love to go out and see movies. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you go into Ant Man and the Wasp and the Quantum Mania, you are, if you're not a Marvel fan, if you haven't seen enough of the other things, you're going to be confused. And they're starting to say people are having that type of fatigue of having to know so much information in order to walk in and enjoy a film. These films are no longer able to stand on their own because there's something bigger at play. The writing and the design of it is designed, I still feel, for people to understand coming out, but bottom line, it's a lot more harder than it is. So I can see people being more excited about some of the DC stuff because the DC stuff is technically turning into brand new again. You don't have to watch any of the old stuff to understand. You don't have to have an understanding of who this person is and why that person's the big bad right now because it's all starting to just come into play. And that alone is worth just sitting down just to watch a movie and not have to think about anything else as opposed to what we've been getting. Oh, James reminded me Sony, not DC. Um, I say DC, but you're right because you talked about Spider-Man, which is technically Marvel, but under the ownership of the Sony flag. So when you put it in that perspective, yeah, I see what you're saying. But it's to me, it's like a combination. It's so weird that if it's Spider-Man, I see it as Marvel Disney, and if it's not, it's kind of like Otherworld, and you can almost put it in the same realm of DC. Not put it as a DC movie, but in that realm of people not being able to, I don't know how to word that right. That people not being able to combine it with what's Marvel,
yeah.
and you have to be very careful of that because if Tom Holland's not in it, then it's technically not the Marvel one, and then you got to look at something else. But yeah,
Yeah.
my sorry for that mishap, because I'm combining Sony and I'm combining DC, and those are two totally separate things. And at the same time, you got Warner Brothers with that as well with the DC. So people are excited about DC, Warner Brothers. People are excited about Sony products, but people are also still nervous about Sony products because the majority of them have not been good. And I'll be honest, Spider Man didn't really get good again until Marvel walked in and said, "Hey, here's what we're trying to do. Can we make it work?" Which is what I do for filming this late at night when I'm usually in bed. But yeah, to your point, yes, I see that. I am looking forward to it. For me, I want to just make sure that I say this. I have an Xbox, I have a PlayStation, I have a Nintendo Switch. I am a gamer. There isn't a one better than the other. It's a whole world and a whole set of different platforms for me to enjoy myself. I have a
Exactly.
PC, I have a Mac. I am that kind of person. I love great technology and I love seeing it work. Yes, I have an Alexa system as well as the stuff that's for Siri as well for Apple. I am that kind of a person. So when it comes to DC, Marvel, and Sony, all of that included, if it's something good, I'm going to enjoy it. Period. In the story. If it's not something good, then that's where the problem is. So for
Yeah.
me, make it good, and that's something I've hit on every single episode we've ever done. As long as the writing, the storyline, the action, the effects are good, I'm going to enjoy the movie for what it is. You don't have to reboot it, but if you so choose to, it's got to be good. Don't give me this hype about a reboot and it's crappy. But at the same time, Marvel's getting, I don't know. I saw Ant Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, and it left a lot of doors open, and I was very confused. I was very confused until I watched a video from Screen Crush, and I was like, okay, now I see what's going on, because that's where my head was, but I didn't know if I should have shared that information. It was just me having conversations with myself. Like, I don't know if I should be thinking about that. Maybe it's not this, maybe it's not that, but something's not right. And then I see someone say something on Screen Crush, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's what's going on. So back to you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, but it's true. It feels like it's three giant conglomerates now, where it's Marvel, DC, and Sony. Even though Sony also is Marvel, they're doing different stuff, and now it seems like there's three competing instead of just the two. So it's easy to get those mixed up, in my opinion. But I think the biggest thing that people are jumping onto of why this is such a huge topic is that Sony wasn't a player 10 years ago. Like it just wasn't a thing that people weren't excited to see a Sony movie. They had to cancel. They canceled Spider-Man 4. They canceled a bunch of stuff. They were doing a cinematic universe for Monsters, I believe, and they canceled that in the middle of it after one of the movies came out. And so it's just, I think they're the ones that did the Dracula movie or whatever, and they had to cancel that in the middle of it. So there was just a sea of just a road of cancellations, a road of things that just weren't going right for them. And now all of a sudden they're announcing Venom 3 and people are losing their minds. Like I don't think ever anyone ever thought we would get to a day where uh Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania premieres and people are just like, I don't know how I feel about it, but they announced Venom 3 and people are losing their minds over it. I think this just is a and also the fact that they are rebooting DC and no one's liking the fact that they're firing all the people. So for the first time, it feels like Sony's kind of in the lead in terms of the buzz. The buzz was always around DC. The buzz was always around Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the buzz was never around Sony. So maybe it has something to do with the fact that Disney's Marvel Universe was popular to a point. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Spider-Man. The last Spider-Man movie that premiered involved Sony in certain aspects of it as well. But for whatever reason, people are just on board with the upcoming Sony stuff. On top of that, you got to give Sony their props too. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse won an Oscar. Like that's huge. They beat Toy Story. I don't think Toy Story has ever been beaten at the Oscars.
You
And
got a friend in me.
and they beat it outright and no one saw it coming.
I still
A-
listen to the soundtrack of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
It's
It,
such a
it's so
great
good.
movie. Such a great movie and it's animated. They killed everyone with an animated movie. They stopped Marvel and DC at the awards with an animated movie, and nobody saw that coming.
Let me
Um,
ask you this, Javis, because you're much younger than I am. I'm an oldie but a goldie. Do you buy movies?
no, I don't. I not anymore. I stream them all,
So
and
do
oh,
you go to the movie theater?
yeah,
So
I
you
still
go to the
go to the
movie.
movie theater.
Okay, so you'll go to the movie theater. You'll also stream it, but you won't purchase your own copy of said movie at all.
No, yeah, and I mean there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it's just things have gotten so expensive when you have so many streaming services out there. Um, that already have movies on them, you have that conversation with yourself, what do I really need to own? um
Mm.
then there's the other aspect of the fact that you just personally, I just enjoy going to the theaters, but even when I talk to younger kids and the younger demographic, they don't even do that. They torrent all of their stuff. So they're just like, why am I paying to own the movie? Why am I paying to go and see the movie when I can click a button and watch everything for free?
Then
So,
are that's going to be another subject, but I do want to touch it for a little bit.
you know,
If these people aren't paying for the movie, they're not doing anything to support it, but let's just be real, but they're talking shit about it. Well, what right do they have to even say anything if there's zero support for it? Like a good example,
exactly.
if there was no such way of being able to download a movie illegally, because that's what it is someone
Mhm.
that does that, um, would Black Adam have made a lot more money? Or they just wouldn't have seen it. That's my question. With not seeing it, or would they gone to the theater and seen it? In your opinion, those people.
In my opinion, no one will be talking shit about DC. In my opinion, no one, and I'm sorry for cursing, but no one would be talking smack about DC. No one, the numbers would be there for DC. The number would be there for Sony. The numbers would be there for everyone. The difference is Disney and Marvel were able to capture an audience that doesn't do that. Like literally, you'll have a group of people that will torrent, of course, the Captain America movie, but the families that want to go see Chris Evans in the theater, they're paying money for that. And
Mm.
that's the difference between all of this is that DC fans are techies. Sony fans are techies. Spider-Man fans for Sony are techies. They're gonna go online and find it for free. And then when they don't see what they want to see, they're gonna go online and talk crap about it. So I
That's
just
not
personally,
fair.
exactly, it's
Because that
not.
just opened up a whole new door of all my thought process of how all these movies. Because like it's, I don't know. It's like, all right, everybody, let's vote on what you think is a great movie, and then you have 1,000 people that vote, but the 1,000 people that vote are people who I'm trying to get a good description of that. Let's say there's 1,000 people that vote, but you only get 1,000 people from one particular set of a neighborhood in a particular group, and it offsets the actual truth. Instead of opening up the door for everybody to get a chance to vote, you're only getting this one niche, and so now you think, well, most people could say they don't like blah blah blah. Well, it's because of how you did the voting, and like if you sit there and vote, I don't know, let's say you in a neighborhood where people are all bald. Like, what do you guys think about hair products? We don't use hair products. We're bald. We don't care about that. So you ask all those questions, you're gonna get all these negative things about hair products, and then they're gonna be like, hey, people aren't liking hair products like they're used to, but you had a set demographic that was talking about it. So it's kind of the same thing with this, and it's kind of bothersome because if you're telling me that people are hyped to for this Sony thing, I'm like, are they? Are they going to support it? And then that begs the question for DC: Are you going to support it? So you got someone like James Gunn, and I'm literally sitting there thinking about that. What was the point of rebooting this whole entire thing if the people that are the fans are not going to pay for it? Because the only reason why we're not getting the Spider-Man's from Sony, the Man of Steel movies, all that kind of stuff, is because they're not paying for it. I paid for it. Like, I'm the one that's sitting here paying for it, and I feel like I'm also paying for it by watching it, hoping for that they do another one, and now they don't do another one because there are people out there that are giving props to it. It's just because I'm in the business. I'm not in that kind of business where I'm making movies and things of such like that,
But
but I am a
still,
video engineer. So as long as people are watching our content, I have a job. But if people aren't watching our content, they're gonna be like, well, then what was the point of like having this channel? So let's just get rid of this channel because no one's watching it. But people are watching it. We look at the numbers to figure that out. Go ahead. You had a comment?
yeah, and you're 100% right in my opinion because of the fact that just like I said, Marvel and Disney moviegoers, their families, there's kids, there's wives, girlfriends, they all are going as a family to see
Mm-hmm.
this stuff.
Yes.
But DC is dark. It's not as fun, it's not as family friendly, and sometimes it's just downright depressing, which you have talked about before. That's which is why you're excited to see the Flash movie and why so many people are saying it's gonna the greatest movie in the world. And that's all well and good because it is the Flash and it does have that feel. Batman's not going to have that feel all the time. You know, there's certain superhero stories in DC that are just downright tragic. If they ever did a a cyborg movie, I don't even know what to say. It would just be very, very depressing when you hear about what he's actually going through. And so I just feel like the people that go and torrent the movies and things like that, they're going to see it. That's how they know they wanted the Snyder version of Justice League is because they went out and they got it online. They watched it online. But the amount of people that were begging for the Snyder cut of Justice League didn't compare to the amount of people that spent the money in the movies. The money wasn't adding up to the amount of people, and you're just like, if this many people are begging for the Snyder cut, if this many people have gone out and gone seen Justice League, we wouldn't be having any of these DC issues. And it's just upsetting to me as a DC fan to know that maybe the series didn't have to be rebooted if the money was there.
Should I know I should even ask this because a whole entire house is gonna shut down automatically because they're gonna hack my all my stuff. Should they be reported?
it's a it's a slippery slope, man. Like I don't know what to say because in certain countries there are people that are being reported that are going to jail that do have hundreds and thousands of dollars or fines for that exact reason. Um but here in America, we just don't come down as hard on people for doing that. And it's that slippery slope because then you say to yourself, yeah, some of those people are rich as heck and they're either bored or they just are stingy and don't want to pay the money to go see it, or they're lazy to get up and go see the movie. They're like, why am I paying my money? Blah 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 blah. But then you have people who would never have seen some of this stuff because they're that broke, because they're that poor. So if they didn't have a friend that was just like, yo, You got to check this out. And that person that was inspired by that movie could be the next big comic book creator. They didn't have the money to actually go see the movie, but somebody torrented the movie for them, and now they're writing scripts, you know? And it's just like, you don't want to take that inspiration away from kids that don't have the ability to pay every dollar to see every movie and every show. Um, so it's a give and take. You
But I'm fine with it if it's like, say you got five friends, each one gets a platform: Netflix, HBO, Disney Plus, Hulu, whatever, and they all get together to watch stuff on each other's platform. I'm okay with that because the money is getting spent and people can still make what they want. But I mean, I hear both sides of it. Like, if you can't afford to go see this movie and you really want to see this movie, but I'm like, what happens when you do have the money? Do you spend it on something else, or do you finally give the people the credit that they deserve? Because these are people that I know. Like, I went to a college where the majority of these people, like a friend of mine, he was like, I want to hey everybody, for Wakanda Forever, I did such and such scenes, just letting you guys know, so make sure you check that out when you see it. That effect and that graphic, that was me. And so, like, I want to support that, so I go. And whether I have the, if I don't have the money, I would wait until I could save up and get it, or sell something that I have to go see it. But I want to support him, because if I don't do that, then they're gonna be like, "Well, sir, we're gonna have to let you go because no one's watching these movies anymore," and then they're just not gonna make the movies anymore. But
Yeah,
that's, I didn't think I was gonna
same
stay on
here.
this subject for so long, but
I
it's just,
know,
it
but you brought
changes
up
the
some
whole entire
great
game.
points.
It,
And I'm right there with you. One of my good friends from high school wrote the script for one of the new Mel Gibson and Bad Bunny movies that just came out. So he's been writing scripts since we were back in high school. I remember him being in class. So the fact that he's getting his name out there and he's actually producing, scripts that are being bought and created is incredible. But you're just like, what if that's another movie that gets torrented? Then how do you feel about that? And I don't know. It's just a slippery slope. It's a give and take. And even the streaming service that you brought up, they cracking down on that. I was going to give HBO Max, a friend of mine, I wanted him to see uh the new show, one of the new shows that just came on, The Last of Us. And he was like, I don't think that I can. He said with HBO Max now, they look at where the bought subscription came from. And if you log in somewhere else, they check it. They're checking people on that now. And so even that's getting torn down. They're coming up with ways to block the streaming services from being shared. So maybe we are going into a phase where it's not going to be an option in the future.
what's funny is that I hear all that and I see us coming to the point where that is gonna be something, but it's like the people that be borrowing that account are the ones that's really be writing the reviews. And because, like, I'll watch a Netflix show, they're like, "Did you like it?" I hit the back button. I don't even say if I liked it or not. Like, but then the people that sit there, "Can I use your account to do blah blah blah?" Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and use my account. And then, yeah, and you should have done all that information in there that keeps the show going or keeps the show canceled. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna be a massive change that's coming up. This is
Yeah.
an interesting topic because I thought we were gonna really concentrate on the fact of Sony being hyped up, but we I've seen that now the game is completely different than what it used to be, and I'm so curious to know what Black Adam numbers would have been if the only way to watch it was to go to the movie theater and see it.
Yeah.
Um, because on top of that, if someone is watching a ripped version of this movie, what's the quality? Now, if you're telling me it's 4K and no different than the movie theater, and you're getting the same, 7.1 Dolby Atmos surround sound, and you can hear everything and feel it and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah, but what are you watching it on? In most cases, they're watching it on like a small little laptop, and then like maybe a $200 projector, and then they're talking crap about the movie and how it doesn't look right. I'm like, maybe it's not the movie, maybe it's what you purchased to watch the movie on. Because I know for my house, when COVID hit, we couldn't go to the movie theater anymore. So I said, what do we do? So like I built my own kind of theater in the basement. I got a high end TV. I got Dolby Atmos surround sound. I built the whole entire thing up so I can still enjoy what I truly love, which is to go to the movies and see a movie. I got popcorn. I researched the best popcorn. I researched the best salt for popcorn. Purchased both those items, and and the best way to make the popcorn. I did all of that so that way I can have the movie theater experience, candy included and stuff, and that's how I enjoy doing what I do. But my problem is if that someone's making a review and talking about something, even someone said I don't even look at Rotten Tomatoes anymore because I don't feel like it's a real score. It's all dependent on who's upset at who. And so now you're not even getting a true score on certain things. So to see all that, to hear all that, I'm like, okay, I gotta figure this out because that means numbers aren't true. Wonder Woman 84 was an okay movie. It wasn't the best Wonder Woman, but what numbers would she have gotten if you all had to go to the theater and see it? What numbers would some of these other movies have gotten if you all had to go to the movie theaters and see it? And if the only way we're seeing these movies through the world of Marvel because Marvel figured out some niche where people aren't able to download it and you got to go and see it, that should be the standard for everything now.
And I also have to say that, because I work with a bunch of young people and a bunch of kids, and I've seen them torrent some of this stuff, Joe, I gotta say, it's better quality than my streaming services. And I'm just like, bruh, like, how did you get this? They be in the break room with their speakers and everything, watching a movie that they're playing right across the street at the theater. And I'm just like, this looks incredible. And they're like,
Jadis
yeah.
is now an accessory. I don't think he realized he just told himself off. So
Hey, I'm not doing it, but I can't do nothing to stop it. Um, but yeah, they're just like, yeah, Jay, you haven't seen it yet. I'm watching it right now. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, you guys, and the quality is good. I don't know how these websites out here, and of course they're all foreign websites, but I don't know how they're getting the HD quality. I don't know how they're getting
because
the
everything's
surround
digital,
sound
like
and
you go to the movie theater and you're sitting there thinking that you're watching like a film where and it's this that world has changed. It's
yeah.
a computer that's sending out a signal. They're basically just taking that computer signal and someone's copying and taking that file and then posting that mess. It's just what makes it difficult to understand. Not difficult. It's just it's easier to do now than it was before. You used to have to sit in a theater and hold a camera. That was the original bootleg, and then it upgraded to where people were able to actually just download the file, and then it's got better quality. And then now it's to the point where I feel like the movie theater, like it's almost as if the people that create the movie, Sony or DC, like leak it to find out is it really good, is it not? I'm actually shocked right now that we don't have copies of Batgirl.
I
Like I don't know, like how
know.
they need to apply the same technology they use to hide Batgirl, um, to
For
do
the
all
rest
the
of
other
their
movies that they
stuff.
have. That way, this wouldn't happen anymore because then
Because
we'll
when
finally
they
get some
said
real
they
numbers.
shelved that movie,
Yeah.
they shelved it like nobody has that.
Somebody found a teaser trailer and that's been on YouTube and
Really?
yeah she's quite interesting storyline. I didn't know it was who's the bad guy in that movie. What is his name? Who's the dude that played in the movie The Whale that he might be getting an award for? He's also in Doom
Harry Connick
Patrol.
Jr.
No, wow,
Oh,
it's not even
you said
close.
the whale movie.
Yeah, it's called The Whale. He just did it. He plays like a really big dude, and
That's
then
what
he's also in
His
Doom
name is Harry
Patrol.
Connick Jr.
That's not Harry Connick Jr. Harry Connick Jr. was in Independence Day, and he also was dating what's her name on what is that show called with the four people in it that
Will
end
and
on NBC.
Grace.
Yes, he dated Grace.
Now you got me looking this up because I need to see if
The dude
I'm.
I'm talking about is the dude that played in The Mummy.
Oh,
I don't want silence on here. We both looking through our phone or
oh my
something like that.
God. I cannot
Brendan
believe
Fraser.
Brendan Fraser. Sorry.
So Brendan Fraser plays the bad guy in the Batgirl movie, but the thing is, he was talking about it, and he was like, they're like, you were. He's like, yeah, I played the bad guy in the movie. And he said, and it wasn't just like some regular bad guy. He's like, you actually feel for me because I believe he was either like a fireman or something like that, and they like took his wages or something, and he was gonna lose his family and everything. So it's him fighting. So he said, you can only imagine like he said a good superhero movie is only good unless you have a villain you can almost cheer for. You're like the villain has to always go too far. Like, oh, okay, all right, now we can't do that. You can't be killing the people, and then that's how they become that villain. But
Yeah.
their reasoning behind it. If you can get behind their reasoning, he said it becomes that. He said with my character, he said that's what it was. You couldn't help but want to just almost cheer for this person, and in doing so, you become a fan, and that makes the movie a good movie. But he said Batgirl, he said the style of it, the way they had it, the design of it, he said it's the best he's ever seen Gotham done in any movie he's ever watched in his entire life. He said Gotham City, when you see the cinema of it, it looks like Gotham. They shot at a location. I don't know what location they shot at, but wherever that location is, he said it looked like it was Gotham. They just put their touches on it. He said they didn't have to do that much to make it more Gotham, but it was Gotham like. So he said it's the
That's
best Gotham he's
awesome.
ever seen. So, but he said
That's so
he
cool.
really wishes they release it, and he said surprisingly, he said what's not talked about is the people that actually went and watched the movie. They were watching what is known as the director's cut, and in my head, I'm like the director's cut is that the after thing. He was like, no, it's actually a rough draft. He said the movie wasn't even done. He said
Wow.
it had so much that it still had to go through. They're seeing just the first iteration of the process of getting it started to get to the point where you're gonna show it in the movie theater. He said that we were at step one and they watched it and people were having, problems or saying this or saying that about whatever they said about it. But he said that's what you do, and then you go back into the edit suite, and then you go back and do reshoots, and you go back and fix all those things, and then you do your second one, you review that, and then you make your last edits and adjustments and reshoots if you need to, and then you release the movie. He said we never got to do any of that. He said I felt if we had the opportunity to do that, it would probably be one of the best movies out there, but they just shelved it and didn't say anything to anyone. He said I got paid for a movie that's never gonna get seen ever, and he said I consider some of my great work. So
Mm.
it's just I'm like, okay, so there's something to that. But again,
That
somebody's gonna
movie.
find it, and we're gonna see that
Yeah.
rough draft. But then we're gonna complain about it, like we're so glad that this didn't air. But I'm like, if it was the rough draft, then that's not fair. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at us doing this show right now. We're on episode 5. Episode 5 looks like this. I can't. When we get to episode 5,000, watch how it's gonna look. And I'm like, that's the difference. All the people that we've seen that's doing these shows on YouTube, streaming, whatever like that. You can go back and look at episode 1 when they started, and then you go back and look at the episode that they're on right now, and it's an extreme adjustment. And I'm like, that's what people need, that kind of respect and love.
But if you
Anything you want
ask
to say
me,
before we get
just
ready to head out?
oh yeah, if you ask me, just from episode one to now, there's a huge change.
Oh my
So,
gosh, we can hear you.
and my internet's not cutting in and out. So,
Internet's not cutting in and out. I hear you clear as day. And like I sat back and I was just like in awe because I'm like, finally everybody can hear what Javis has to say. And I'm like, the stuff that he's saying is so important, and it sucks that it was getting cut off because of how our technology is. But you guys just maybe Javis needs to do a little video about it and actually show how he was able to get everything he needed for pretty much under $100 to be able to go to where he is right now to give a different style of how everything looks. Purchasing a webcam, a monitor, getting a cable for his what is this device called again?
Steam Deck.
So he's actually using a Steam Deck to do this whole entire thing with me. I sent him a link via what I use is called Restream, and Restream allows me to invite people as many as I want, and then they get the link, they click it open, and then they can join the show. I can add them in, put in so much information. Like I was even gonna do a joke yesterday because you said something about the bathroom, and I was like, see, now I can put something at the bottom of the screen, You heard it here. He enjoys number two. So, like, I mean, it's one of the most incredible things that I've ever seen. And then you can have the graphics in here to do so many things. Even when I did that overlay on one episode, and then right down to the QR codes, I'll put this up sometimes, and it says the building fund. So if anyone actually does that QR code, it's my Cash App, and you can send them money directly. So just little things like that. So people are growing, and I'm going to learn how to do all this while we're doing the show. But in the midst of that, he was able to create something from just using the Steam Deck, and now the quality of what he has is so much better, and we can hear it. So it's just that's just this is just episode 5. So
Yeah.
I'm like, get to episode 100. Let's see where we're gonna be looking like then. Get to episode 1,000. Let's see where we're looking at then, and then it just keeps growing from there. But I want to take the time to thank Javis for sitting there getting all this stuff together before he went to bed tonight. We want to keep his friends and family in prayer. I know some of them are going through some things, and same thing for mine because most of our friends and family are the same people. So just thank you guys for whoever watches and checks this out. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. We're gonna keep trying to grow what we're growing, and make this work. And we'll see you on the next episode. So take it easy, keep it locked, keep it loaded. Thanks.